Happy Halloween, painting pals! Welcome back to Mandy's Minis. Today's video honors the gory graphic nature of 1980s horror slasher movies. Some may find the techniques and look of the model disturbing, and while all materials are simple paint and plastic, viewer discretion is advised. All right, hey painting pals, we're gonna start off with some gross, gory skin. And I'm actually doing something a little bit different here. I am trying a different style where you use lots of bright, vibrant colors in different areas of the model as an underpainting. These colors will not actually show or be highly represented in the final product because all the painting will go over it. But there are subtle nods that will still show through more subconsciously as visual confusion than actual appearing vividly on the final model. And then I'm going with my old friend stippling. So you'll see I'm using another junk brush on this one and stippling in some nice dark greenish brown to be the shadow color. Now there's lots of ways to make gory, disgusting skin. This guy being kind of more stitched together Frankenstein monster type deal, I wanted to lean into the green and the green decay kind of look. So that's what I'm doing here, but hey, you can go purples and blues and yellows and get nice puffy, bloated looking skin, very bruised and beat up that way. I had debated doing that and kind of leaning away from the Frankenstein theme, kind of modernizing it a little more. But yeah, I'm feeling classic old school Halloween this year. And next, I'm just moving up in lighter colors, mixing in some actual AK greenish white, so that it actually brightens up and will eventually be very, very desaturated and kind of pale in comparison. Well, you guys know, you saw the thumbnail, so you know where it's going in the end, even if I don't while I'm painting it. So, but I want to make sure that, of course, I'm hitting all the raised bits where the light would hit. And again, still just stippling because I really want to get that coarse texture for the skin and not something nice and smooth and pretty like I normally would do in my skin tutorials. And once I've moved up from there, I'm going into the glazing of the red. Now I went with a very purplish magenta red. It's actually called Dirty Red. It's AK. You guys know that's currently my favorite line, balancing quality versus cost effective. And just kind of showing a lot of that, a lot more than I probably normally would, including the areas where the bone is sticking through. You're obviously going to see a lot more of that, and a lot of the sores where the stitches are, you know, playing up the damaged area. All right, now I'm moving into more of the detailed areas. The eyes, I really kind of wanted to go with more of a stigmatism. I feel like those, you know, stigmatism, cataracts, those tend to look really disturbing. And I definitely wanted to use two different color eyes. I mean, after all, he is put together, right, from different bodies. So the chances of two perfect eyes, let's throw that out the window and go as crazy as we can. So what I ended up doing was more glazing them back into white to make them far more disturbing than an actual eye would be. So we're talking about very little pupil and things like that. And then into those gums, and they're wonderfully exposed. I really want to play up the glistening nature of a wet mouth, and also really play up that muscle structure. I mean, gums are a little different than muscle, but they're still going to play that way, and really rotting the teeth. So going heavily on the dark. And then yes, I do bring it back because we don't want all black teeth. If they're changing out body parts, he's going to get better than totally rotten. But also bringing it up with a nice white gleam to them, to show that wetness. I'll also play that up a little later. I don't actually, I probably won't film it because you guys have seen it, but I'll add gloss, just a gloss finish to the mouth, eye, and eyes, and even over here in the areas where the skin is not covering on his head. Those are areas I really want to play with the muscles, starting with nice deep dark red, and then I go all the way up through pinks and white. Again, I'm trying to go as gory and as gross and scary as possible, really leaning into the 1980s slasher, showing all of the, disgusting that we possibly can. And what is more disgusting than exposed muscle? So, if you haven't seen a whole lot of 1980s horror movies, I don't know what's wrong with you. Go check them out. There are some so fun ones, but I'm a little biased. But you can also look up just pictures of muscles and, do a nice Google search and see all that kind of grossness that you're trying to mimic. And of course, here I want to take it up really, really high with the whites because I can always bring it back down. So I want to make sure that enough is exposed to really kind of show that glimmering look, and also just, part of that muscle structure. So once the blood kind of goes over top of it, it really sells that figure, or that process, a lot more. Now, I'm really going to focus the video on the gory elements, not show you everything that I painted. Obviously, I did the leather off camera, but if you want to see how I did that leather, check out my worn leather video from last week. And then I decided, looking at this model, that this arm is completely attached via these stitches. So let's make that a slightly different skin tone. So I wanted to go a little bit darker with it. But I figured, if you're stitching together a man, you're going to try and keep them at least a little bit close, rather than going, completely different. So I wanted to keep in the same kind of skin tone range, very similar colors, but not necessarily the same. So it's a very subtle difference. And of course, popping up some more details and highlights in the face. And of course, we have these bulging veins that are showing through, and that's a lot of fun. I thought about making them realistic, but then I decided, you know what? Now he's being reanimated. Let's go with a bright neon green, the chemicals that are actually bringing him to life instead of his actual blood running through. But that brightness just did not fit with the dark theme that I had, dark desaturated theme I had going on. And now we're getting to the fun specialty stuff. Technically, he's finished, but we want to go more. I mean, this bright silver, I just does not work with 1980s slasher gore grossness. So I'm actually testing out a new product that I've never used before. This is a corrosive texture. It's a texture paste from AK, and you're supposed to just be able to put it on and it's this like sandy, gritty look, and it gives the feel, the actual dimension of rust. And man, oh man, guys, I actually love this. You know, if you've watched my videos, you know that I go crazy with rust, and in most cases, it goes too far. That's the same in this case. You'll see it. We've already seen the finished product, kind of, but it it goes pretty heavy, despite my trying to hold it back. But the nice thing is I was able to pull it back with some silver and just kind of fake it a little bit. But let's be honest, this entire model is the definition of too much. And the theme of the 1980s horror movies, they were the definition of too much, especially if you watch some of the cheesy B-rated ones. My mom and I used to love watching those together. But the really neat thing about this this texture paste is you can put it on thinner in some areas and thicker in others, and it really works to kind of make it feel more. It doesn't add any color. It's not like the Dirty Down where it's going to rust itself, but it gives you the feel of the actual rust buildup. So once you put paint over it, it sells it beautifully. And, you know, we all know that I kind of have problems with Dirty Down because I keep forgetting that I can walk it back. And now I've actually just run out. So now that I know this trick and try and keep it in the back of my head, I actually don't have any on hand. So that doesn't really help the situation right now. All right, now that we've got the texture down, we've got to play with some colors. And I'm actually going to use this Vallejo Game Effects dried blood effect for part of the rust. I find that most rust colors end up being a little too bright, and I know there's like a balance between the brown and the orange, but when I look at rust, I frequently see a lot of orangish red and brownish red, and this color seems to fit that for me way better than it fits dried blood. I tend to use a different product for dried and coagulated blood. So this product pretty much just sits on my shelf now since I found the other one. So I thought it would be a good idea to use some of it here as a secondary between the brown and the bright orange that I'll be adding in a little bit. I did actually stay away from verdigris. I just didn't want to add too much color. There's not really a whole lot of blue in this piece. And I know verdigris is kind of like a blue-green, but again, it just really didn't fit the piece. So I didn't really want to go that route. And again, I'm using a junk brush for most of this. And as you can see, getting into some of those smaller areas, I start making a little bit of a mess with my junk brushes. So I do go in with a 00 into those small areas to just kind of give me a little bit more control over what's going on. And here I'm switching to my Vallejo Rust, and this would be the bright orange that I was referring to. And I didn't want to go too far without seeing how it would all look together. So that's why I've only done like one little section and then started coming in with the orange. And you can see that that really ties the whole thing together for the actual rust look between the texture and the effects. And one of these days, I should really probably take a look at, you know, a little bit more of the theory of rust and where it falls. You know, I know that rust builds where a lot of water collects. A lot of miniature painters will tell you that. But in every situation on the models are different and the environments they're in. So how do you kind of decide what that would be and where that would be for each of these individual pieces. It's not something that I put a lot of time into, and that's probably why my rust is always going too hard and too far, and not necessarily looking right. But I'm always happy with it in the end because, it's Halloween. Halloween, you can never have too much, right? It's all about indulgences, fantasies, dressing up as other characters, candy, and, gorging on that. We're kind of taught that from our youngest age nowadays, that when it comes to Halloween, everything goes and nothing is too much. So, why shouldn't our Halloween models be too much? Too much rust, too much gore, too much blood. That's all fine with me. I love it. And while it's probably not what I would do in a normal figure, it's a Halloween figure. And I'm going to enjoy it and love it. All right. So now we're on to the blood. And my favorite for this is Game Stuff World's coagulated blood. You can see how dark it looks when it's together, but when you actually pull it out to something thin, it looks red, like a really deep red. So it kind of feels like it reacts the way blood, especially coagulated blood, works. I don't know how they make this stuff, but I don't care. It's fantastic. If you're trying to use blood effects, it's my go-to. And of course, can't forget Blood for the Blood God from Citadel. It's perfect for fresh blood. So I'm kind of doing a little bit of both. And of course, I'm trying to be strategic about it because it's only going to be in certain areas and not all over. But of course, how could we forget blood spatter? And normally, what I do for blood spatter is use a toothbrush and flick it, and then it gets all over my hands, and it's so messy and disgusting, but who cares? I can wash it off my hands, right? But today I tried a different technique because when I did a seminar on brush care, I seem to have lost my toothbrush for it. And I'm not using my real toothbrush for paint. So instead, I used a flat brush and put the paint on it, and then just used air from the airbrush to spatter it. And it actually, I think, works a little bit better. The particles are finer this way, and so it actually gives a little more subtle look to the blood spatter because it's not so bold and prominent, but it really works for a lot of fun. So a lot of the areas, especially around the bone, you're going to get, some dried blood from it being there, but also some fresh blood might be coming around. So that's why I always put the fresh blood on top. So coagulated blood first, and then just a touch of fresh blood with blood from the blood gods. I've done a lot of video tutorials with this, so I'm not going to take too long. But I do also want to mention that these kind of figures give you permission to explore some other really gross and gnarly kind of paint effects that are out there. So I have several samples here that you can see. I'm not going to use them all. I actually end up only using Green Stuff World's Bile and a little bit of Green Stuff World's Vomit on around the mouth, but they just give something else, a little bit of a different kind of look of gross. And you know me, I'm all about it. If we're going all indulgent, why not? Why wouldn't he have some of that, oozing out everywhere? And that bile is what I actually ended up putting over the veins as well, because I just figured that's a nice fluorescent, but it wasn't so overpowering as an actual fluorescent paint. So that kind of tied back into the story of something else animating him other than the blood. So that's it. There he is in all his gross glory. I can finally show it to you, and you can see the full coloring. I hope you'll try some of these products because they are a lot of fun and it's just perfect for the Halloween season. And I'm sure there's some other projects that you can figure out where some of these would work fantastically for you. Let me know in the comments which one's your favorite and what you think you'll be trying and trying it on. And thank you again for spending a little bit of your Halloween with me. And a special thank you to our patrons. You know we love you, and I couldn't let a single video go by without saying thank you for all of your support. So, happy spooky season, happy Halloween, and until next time, have fun and keep gory creating.